Hey, hey, hey! Hello! It's the darndest, tootinest podcast in the land. Who is the Whole Slice Podcast? With my main man and partner, James the Jet, and I am America's favorite bitch-ass white boy, CProc. Now, we took a little bit of a hiatus lately. The 9 to 5 grinds were driving us into the ground a bit, but we wanted to get back on the show before the playoffs started, so you can have our playoff preview as its own show. And for the fans of the show who are familiar, my partner usually roasts a deserving candidate every so often. And we're gonna flip the script on that a little bit. Instead of picking out someone who's especially stanky, we're gonna shine a light on people who are the complete opposite of that. Jet, take it away. Who are some shining stars in the association lately?
Well, I like to give people their roses while they're still here, and these players have been smelling pretty fine and less stinky. I want to start off by congratulating Kevin Porter Jr., youngest player to score 50 points in a game and also have over 10 assists. He had 11. The only other player to do that before him was LeBron James. So if this is any indication to the future of his career, I think the lights are bright for him. Hopefully he can turn around what's going on in Houston. Secondly, I want to shout out my boy.
They certainly need something to turn him around.
Oh my God, it's bad over there. It's grim. A series of unfortunate events. But the second person I want to shout out is my boy Jason Tatum. He had a 60-point performance against the Spurs recently. They were down 32, and he really willed them back to win. I've personally been on the Jason Tatum's overrated train. I've said this before on this show.
In the stink report.
Right. But I think this season he's really showing like he's pulling himself away from the pack. He's going to be a very special player for years to come. And then lastly, the offensive juggernaut. He has range when he steps in the gym. My boy Steph Curry. His last 10 games have been crazy. He had multiple 40-point performances, a 49-point performance. He's broken the single season record for threes made again. This guy is just very special. And he's gotten the Warriors somewhat into playoff contention from, the way he's been playing as of late. And I think that's that's been the best player in the NBA last 10 games in my eyes.
And Steph that's kind of getting back to when Steph really shined on the national spotlight, because he kind of was doing it by himself. Clay was more up and coming when Steph was really starting to light it up, when the Splash Brothers were a thing, and Draymond, nobody on the national spotlight really knew what he was. So people were used to seeing Steph do these carrying the load by himself, and now he's carrying the load by himself, although he actually needs to.
Yeah.
He does, Dre's still there, but Clay's certainly not been a factor this year. And he's bringing us back to where the national attention got to know Steph.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Steph. So I want to talk about something that we've been, kicking around on the show for a while. MVP race. We're kind of towards the end of the season right now, so I think, the landscape is basically what it's going to be. We have a top three candidates, but who do you feel? How are we feeling?
Well, as you alluded to, we have kind of beaten this into the ground a bit in recent shows. But someone that we've kind of ignored a little bit, and I probably shouldn't have, is the big man out of Denver, Nikola Jokic. Denver has managed to climb within a few games of Phoenix and Utah. They're actually only a game behind Clippers right now for the 3 seed. So they've been right at the top of the standing for most not all of the season. And even despite losing Jamal Murray to injury, they're still up there. They're still fighting for a top 3 seed. And that's it. He's getting a lot of national praise for being the front runner. The Joker is, and that's just got. I think Murray's absence is just going to bolster his case more. One, from the standpoint that his running mate's not with him, and two, from the standpoint of he doesn't have an extra player on the team to take votes away from him. Like Harden has Durant and Kyrie to take votes away from. I don't think Kyrie's gonna get many votes, but whatever.
Yeah.
Harden has Durant to take votes away from him. Chris Paul has Booker to take votes away from him. Embiid has Ben Simmons to take votes away from him. Yeah, there's a lot of Donovan Mitchell has Gobert to take votes away from. There's a lot of the other candidates that are outside of Giannis. Pretty much every MVP candidate has another star player on their roster to hurt their contention. And now Joker, his other guy, is not there anymore. And on top of the fact, despite him not being there, they're still at this elite level. So I think the Joker's case is probably going to be favored a lot better in the voters' light. Now, the other one that has been getting a lot of national attention, and rightly so, is one we just touched on, is Stephen Curry. The fact that Clay's not there, Dre is Dre. James Wiseman was a big, highly lauded draft pick, and he's been out. He's been out of the lineup. And Steph's been carrying the load on his back by himself. And on top of that, this team would probably be nowhere near the playoffs without Steph. Agree. So, and if we're dialing the clock back to when Russell Westbrook won the MVP and they were way down in the lineup, you take that stigma out of the equation of you're not on one of the league's best teams, you can't win the award. I think Steph's going to garner a lot of votes. And, we still have Embiid, we still have James Harden, we still have Giannis, we still have Donovan Mitchell, we still have Chris Paul. But I think it's definitely, I don't know if I can call it so much of an unsung force behind other candidates, but I think there's a lot of votes out there that are going to go towards Steph, that are going to go towards the Joker. And I'm kind of wary to really put money on any of them, because I could very easily see one of them winning the award versus anyone else that we've spent a lot of time on over the last several weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Like this, I hate that this award and like another award that does this as well as Defensive Player of the Year. Like they just, you're on the best defensive team and you average the most blocks and rebounds, you're the Defensive Player of the Year. I look more towards like impact. Like you said, Steph and Joker, Luka. These are the main driving forces of their teams, and if they're not there, they're nowhere near where they're going to be. Yeah, they're going to drop. You see this with the Lakers and LeBron and AD, but they're missing, their two best players, and now they're in the playing tournament. You know what I'm saying? And AD's part of that driving force, but LeBron is like, he helms the ship. You know what I'm saying? He gets everybody's. Yeah, everything goes through LeBron, and with him not being there, you really see like, the Lakers they're not as good as we thought they was. You know what I'm saying? But they still play defense and all that. But it's just like on the offensive end, they look lost, and I think that should account more than me being the quote unquote best player on the best team. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know. I lean way towards impact than best record.
And on top of that, I think LeBron's regretting a little bit sending all those. Now, granted, he's not going to trade back his championship or the impact that Davis brought to that, but you think he might be regretting a little bit shipping all that young talent off, making them ship all that young talent off, and all of a sudden him and AD are out, and then they got nobody there to keep the ship afloat.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like they're trying to run it back, and LeBron is at the latter stages of his career, and he doesn't have time to like wait for the young guys to get good for him to like, now we could go win a championship. So they went to go get AD. AD was ready. He's always been considered a top 5 player in the league. So it's like, why not have, why not have pair these two together? But like you said, that shot their depth, and it's coming to bite them now that everybody's hurt.
Yeah. That's I definitely think there's something to that, because we've seen it now play out. LeBron is the ageless one, but we've seen it play out perfectly in that sense where he's out, and then on top of it, now Anthony Davis is not nearly as old as LeBron, but he's also someone with a checkered injury history, and they both miss time, and guess what? there's nothing there, and there's nothing to keep them floated. As you said, now they're in the play-in tournament. Well, I don't think LeBron's too happy about that, but it is what it is. You're 35 years old. You need to have more people on the team than just you.
Right.
You're not that kid carrying Boobie Gibson and Big Z to the finals against Spurs when you're 22 years old or whatever he was at the time.
Right. But I think the MVP award specifically should definitely be based off how impactful a player is to that team. No, I'm not saying like, oh, this guy has 37 every night, but his team only has 2 wins. He needs to be the MVP. No, I'm not saying that. But like you said, Steph, he's not in the upper range of the Western Conference, but things that he does night in and night out is phenomenal. And he's the main reason why his team is in the position that it's in now, to maybe make some noise in the playoffs. And it's really just him and Dre passing him the ball. Like
and that being said, I'm not confident enough to step out of the box on this, but are you feeling a little bit more confident to put some figurative money on the line as far as somebody out of the box going to win it, or are you going to stick with one of the big horses?
I also, to add to that list, I want to add Julius Randle. I mean, you want to talk about impact. Yeah, let's talk about it, because nobody thought the Knicks would be where they're at right now. And his transformation is the catalyst to the transformation of the Knicks. I mean, of course, them getting Tibbs and Tibbs surrounding the right players around the team, but Julius Randle has been the driving force of that team. His numbers are crazy. I think he needs some love. Like, give him some votes.
Oh, he definitely should. I mean, if there's the Knicks hate will be certainly on display if he's not in the top 10.
Yeah,
he's not in the top 10 finalists. With like not like 9-10 with like a little bit of votes, and they're all mostly third place votes or whatever. Like still like 8-9 just because of the plethora of candidates, but 7-8 with like a considerable amount of votes. Like you said, a certain amount of the Knicks rise back to just back to being noted and being a factor is definitely contributed to the mindset change that Tibbs brought to the table. But a lot of it's all going through Randle this year, and who would have thought Randle was even capable of that? How many teams cast him off? Like, this is just he's just a mid to high B level player at best. He's never going to be someone to build the franchise around, and not carry someone to great heights. And lo and behold, here he is putting up triple doubles some nights, hitting threes. I certainly would never have guessed. I certainly would never guess Julius Randle a 3-point shooter at any point in his career.
Yeah, he's playing the game with no fear, and that does worlds for a person's confidence. And you can see it, like the confidence is just seeping out of him. He's not scared of shooting any shot. He's not scared at any moment. I think Jules deserves some votes, man.
And no fear is a good point, because when he does these little game's over, big win, and he does this little talk to the crowd or whatever, he's got some bravado. That man's got some bravado on him.
Yeah, I like it.
It's nice to see for once.
For once. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Stay off the weed. We're off it now, and we're going to the playoffs, boys and girls.
Yes, sir.
It's not technically clinched yet, but it's got to be pretty damn close. Well, as much as this MVP talk and late talk, latest games talk has been fun. I've been a little bit dry on the regular season of late, and I'm getting my mouth started to salivate for the playoffs. So when we come back, we're gonna talk some play-in bubble action, and don't forget, you want to interact with us, you want to get in our DMs and light us up a little bit, tell us we're out of our mind. Follow us Instagram and Twitter at HoopsBoysPod, and come join us when we come right back. We'll talk of this play-in tournament. Hoops Boys.
Hoops Boys. Welcome back to the Hoops Boys Pod. It's your host with the most, Jet, with my bro CProc. And today we want to talk about the play-in tournament. It's the league's new and hopefully exciting way to determine the 8 seeds that are going to be in the playoffs. And one of the league's favorite, LeBron James, seems to be very wishy-washy on the subject. And LeBron, bro, what are you talking about?
So we got Portland, you got Memphis, you got New Orleans that's kind of, in Sacramento kicking around there. So, I mean, if there's 5 or 10 games left, why not why not those guys battle it out? How about just make them play each other all 5 games?
Yeah.
All 10 games, or I don't know, how to find a way where they can have, if you're going to make the playoffs, why not play against a team that's in front of you or behind you?
If I'm not, 100% close to 100%, it don't matter, where we land, so, that's my mindset. And, if this happens to, we end up at 6th or 5th or whatever the case may be, or if we end up in the playoff, whatever that thing is, whoever came up with that shit need to be fired. But whatever.
Well. As we just watched, LeBron didn't seem to care too much about this tournament a few weeks back, and as fate would have it, he might need it to make a little run at his title defense. Now, as the play-in bracketry stands right now, we've really got a fan's delight, if you will. The 7-8 matchup in the West is LeBron versus Steph Curry. And this, I mean, to be honest, like, how much better can you get? The playoffs not even started yet, or we're getting this like winner take all between the 2 most magnanimous personalities in the league.
Yeah.
I think that I personally think that's fantastic. I don't care.
I like it a lot.
Butthurt about it.
Right. I like it a lot. I think this is good for the league.
Yeah. That's one of those things where it's just like, if you're going to sit there and cry over it, you need to be a little bit self-aware and realize that this is good for the league. This is good for the fans.
Yeah. And it makes like the end of the season, you normally don't see like marquee players even playing. It's like, the end of the bench, they're playing the games, and it makes the end of the season for teams that could potentially get in the playoffs more meaningful. Like, they're actually playing high intensity games at the end of the season.
Exactly. And Lord knows the league needs a little bit of juice of adrenaline right now. Now, to flip it, let's look at the East a little bit. LaMelo's going to be back for the postseason. He's playing right now.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a little worried about Boston's ability to contain him. Because LaMelo, before he got hurt earlier in the season, he was really lighting it up. He was playing he was playing on all sorts of high levels. And especially with the recent news about Jaylen Brown going to be out for the remainder of the season, that's a tall task. That is a very tall task to be able to stop this wonder kid who's been who's been getting back on track and getting back the numbers he was putting up early in the season. He's triple doubles every night. And then, of course, the other side of it is the guy who's been filling in for LaMelo Ball and even closing out games when he was playing earlier in the season before he got hurt is Terry Rozier. For those with short attention, for short memories, Terry Rozier used to be in Boston, had a lot of clutch moments for Boston, and this is kind of a revenge tour this will be kind of a revenge tour of sorts if the standings hold and 7-8 matchup winds up being Boston and Charlotte. I think Boston should be a little worried.
I think so as well.
The other half, of course, we're not. By all means, you touch on the other West matchup, but I don't want to because I don't want to watch that game. I don't want to watch the Spurs.
Yeah,
but the other East matchup is Russell Westbrook, who we'll touch on a little bit later in the show, but he's been absolutely on fire in the second half of the season,
playing out of his mind.
And they're lined up against Indiana, who's had a very strugglesome second half, and I'd be pretty shocked if Washington doesn't roll Indiana out very quickly. That seems like that when the baseball playoffs start and there's always that early 1 o'clock start because it's the game that nobody wants to watch, so they put it on the air when everybody's at work. That's gonna be this Wizards. Of course, there's there's 4 of them. They'll probably, if they put all 4 games on one day, that's going to be that 3 o'clock middle of the afternoon game that nobody's going to want to watch.
So hell, what are they going to do with this Grizzlies and Spurs game? Because nobody wants to watch that.
That's true. Well, that's actually a better point. People might want to actually. It'd probably be good of the league to put Russie closer to quote unquote prime time. Which actually, you know what? That game probably will be prime time. It'll probably be that the Lakers Spurs will probably be the nightcap because they're both in California. They probably will put the Wizards game in that 7-8 o'clock time slot just because Russell Westbrook's been so phenomenal, and the league probably will want to title. But the only reason they probably will do that is Russie and the fact that Charlotte, Boston. There's Boston's hurt. They haven't been very good. LaMelo Ball is not a lot of people know about him yet, and of course, as you said, nobody wants to watch Spurs Grizzlies. So, what's your take on these matchups or any other on these matchups or any other storylines?
Well, I want to start with I'm gonna start on the West Coast and start with the Lakers and Warriors. I think that LeBron and AD's health is going to play a key point into this whole play-in tournament run, but specifically that game. If they don't keep up with Steph, he will shoot them right out the gym. Lakers are a very good defensive team. They've shown that still even without AD and LeBron. They've been a pretty good defensive team. So, and LeBron has had his run-ins with Steph and Dre multiple years. So I'm pretty sure he already has an idea this is how we need to guard them. This is how we need to stop them. But can they execute it? I don't know. Can the 2-man game of Dre and Steph be enough to beat what the Lakers got going on over there if they're at full power? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? What they've been doing this season has been phenomenal. Dre, 20-something assists, no points, Steph 49, you know what I mean? They do stuff like that, but it's I don't know if that's enough to beat the Lakers. Grizzlies and Spurs, I don't really have too much to say about these teams. They're both good teams.
It's not much to say.
It's not much to say. They're the young versus the old. I think this is going to come down to coaching, and Pop is on the other end of that equation, so I'm gonna ride with the Spurs to make the playoffs.
I don't. They were a matter of weeks ago, a month and a half ago. They were fire sale mode. They're like LaMarcus here. Yeah, you can leave. Of course, now he's not. Now he's not even playing for Brooklyn because he's got this awful heart condition. But they were in fire sale mode a few weeks ago. I understand. I know that's a great point about Pop. Trying to figure out some way to lock them down, and really, you just need to lock down Ja Morant, and the rest will kind of fall a little bit more naturally. but I just don't see them having enough firepower. And you shouldn't need that much firepower to take over Memphis, but John Morant's worth a lot of firepower just by himself.
Yeah, he is. And they're like I said, they're a solid team. They have Dylan Brooks is a good player. They're getting some players back. Valanciunas, I don't know if his name correctly, but he's having a good season over there quietly. And he did that last year too. They're a good team. They're gonna be tough to deal with, but I don't know. The Spurs just have that thing, you know what I mean? That they know how to take away your favorite things to do, and then that makes the whole game uncomfortable for you, and you can't stop what they do because it's just the most simplest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
And how do you stop it?
They do have that little bit of they have that little bit of X factor. They're one of the few teams that liken to coaching of old, where they really will game plan you. Of course, a lot of that is due to the fact that they can't outscore you, so they actually need to game plan. They can't just overpower you with what they've got.
Yeah, they have to play more traditional basketball. All right, so I'm gonna slide over to the East Coast. Celtics versus Hornets. Like you said, it's gonna be a revenge game for Scary Terry, but there's also another former Celtics player on that roster, Gordon Hayward. So 2 times the revenge for the Celtics. The Celtics are also without their excellent two-way player, Jaylen Brown. He's out for the remainder of the season with a wrist injury. He has a tear to the ligament in his wrist. And Jaylen could be the type of player that you can switch on to a player that's hot, or the best player on the opposing team, and he can really cause trouble for them. We've seen this numerous amount of times, specifically against Toronto when he guarded Spicy P in the bubble and shut him down. So I think they're really gonna miss him. The Celtics are in for it, man. I don't know, and the Hornets can outpace the Celtics too. The Hornets are a very fast team. They're young. They get up and down the floor.
Deep.
They're deep, yes. They're a deep team. But the Celtics do have, I think, the best player on the floor in Jason Tatum. And if, he had a performance against the Spurs, like I mentioned earlier. They were down 32. He scored 60 points and they won the game. If he could tap into that type of energy again in this game, the Hornets don't have a chance. But it's going to be tough because their whole defensive scheme is going to be on him to stop him. So we'll see what happens in that matchup.
Yeah, he is. Jason Tatum is unquestionably the best player of both of these teams. But again, like you're saying, how much workload does he have to carry? Jaylen Brown's hurt now. Marcus Smart's had a very in and out of the lineup type of season. That there's how much is Jason Tatum gonna have to score to pull them along? And I think that I think that could be scary. I think it could be scary if Terry Rozier's ready to dig his teeth in. If Hayward's got that cast me aside, okay, I'm gonna drop my own 30. If he's ready to put up a game like that, and of course LaMelo, which a lot of people probably have a lot of people who haven't been following basketball may not know LaMelo, may not really be aware of the season LaMelo's been having, but he's outside of his little injury thing, he was the runaway rookie of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a lot. That's a lot to shut down, and with no Jaylen Brown and with Marcus, you don't know what kind of shape Marcus Smart's going to be in. There's not a lot of bodies left to guard all that talent.
Yeah, Celtics they got a rough go at it. Even if they get past this game, they got work to do.
Oh yes.
So and then the last matchup in the East, Pacers versus Wizards. I'm riding with the Wizards in this matchup. We got the new Mr. Triple Double, Russell Westbrook. Shout out to Russie. But I have some key points in this matchup as well. Bradley Beal hurt his hammy earlier this week. I don't think it's too significant of an injury, but that's something we might need to watch throughout this game, throughout the playoffs, if they advance past this game, because that could hinder him. I think the Pacers are very, very well coached, and they have a lot of weapons. Nate Bjorken, I don't know if I'm butchering his name, but he's done a very good job with the Pacers. Karis LeVert looks to be playing very well in the new system. So I think this will be a good matchup. I like to see it.
Yeah, I'm glad they kind of hung around and they're still in this play-in, but they after that Vic trade they really kind of fell off, and I'm personally going to be surprised if they can slow Rusty down and all, but that's just me. Who knows? We're just two people talking on a microphone, so we could be wrong.
But and I guess we should have did this in the beginning, but let's do it now. The format of the play-in tournament is a little bit confusing if you're not looking at it, but
I've confused myself 3 times already looking at it.
Right. So in the most like simplest form I can explain this, 7 plays 8 and 9 plays 10 in their respective conferences. The winner out of 9 and 10 goes to play the loser out of 7 and 8. Whoever wins that game out of them becomes the 8th seed. The winner out of the 7th and the 8th seed game becomes the 7th seed. And then the normal format of the playoffs, like 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7, that starts after that.
So what you're saying is the current 7 seeds, very historical franchise in their own rights, the Lakers and the Celtics, could both wind up on the outskis.
Yes, it can happen, and that would be crazy. But I mean, it's kind of you make your own fate in this format. Like I said, it makes the game more exciting towards the end of the season. The game, I mean, like the NBA, it makes the NBA game more exciting towards the end of the season. People have something to play for. We won't see like the end of benches playing the last 3-4 games because it's a lot of implications. Like you might have to play an extra 2 games before you even get in the playoffs if you don't, you know what I mean, clinch the 6th seed or up. So, I mean, I like it. LeBron doesn't like it.
But we don't care.
It's good for the game. It's good for the fans.
It's great for the fans, honestly. Just looking at the matchups right now, I mean, you could have, the Utah Jazz have kind of outside of the charge that the Suns put into the standings in the second half. The Utah Jazz have really been running away with a lot of the West this season. They could wind up looking at the hottest player in the league, Steph Curry, in the first round.
Yeah. Good luck to Steph Curry.
Yes. Well, yes, sure. Of course, that would also imply the Lakers would beat them, but which I don't think is going to happen. But whatever.
Well, we're gonna get when we come back, we're gonna get into some triple double talk and the new face on the Mount Rushmore of that respect. When we come back, Who's Boys Pod.
Welcome back, cats and dogs. We want to. There it is. Caught me off guard on that one. Woo! We want to close the show. Shining a light on someone who's been an MVP. They've been They've shined in their own All NBA and All Defensive prowess in recent years, but they've kind of been cast off a couple times in the last couple of years, and that is none other than the very mercurial Russell Westbrook. And he had a game recently against the Pacers, kind of a big matchup as it turned out, because now they might wind up playing them in this little play-in tournament that we just discussed. And he really showed out. It did score a lot, only scored 14, but he had a whopping 24 assists. Which he is a point guard. That's an incredible number, but he's a point guard. And then he also had 21 rebounds.
Right.
And in the days since that, he caught up to and passed the original Mr. Triple Double, the first Triple Double, Oscar Robertson, and passed and cleared that 182nd career triple double, making Russell Westbrook the all-time leader in triple doubles. And he's on pace to average triple double again this year, which is, what's his current count? 3 or 4? Is this going to be his 4th season averaging a triple double, or 3rd season?
I think this might be his 3rd season doing it,
3rd
because I
season.
don't think he did it. He didn't do it in Houston.
Yeah, and
yeah, he was close, but he didn't do it.
And following that game against the Pacers, his head coach Scott Brooks, who also coached him in Oklahoma City, had some pretty prestigious words to say. I'll read it right now. Point guards don't do what he does. He's not normal. They're not built that way. There may be somebody that probably shoots better. There might be someone that could probably do certain things better. But there's nobody in the history of the game that can do what he does throughout the stat sheet. I used to always say he's going to probably go down as the 3rd best point guard ever, but I think he's past 1. He's probably going to go down as 2nd best. And number 1 is obviously Magic Johnson. He's underappreciated. What he does, there are no point guards ever done it. Nobody. That's pretty high talk. Does Coach Scotty have a point there? Is Russell at this point only chasing Magic?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of point guards, when I think of point guards, like in the most traditional sense, I think of somebody that's setting up the offense, getting guys involved, and then can go out there and get his own shot as well. Russie checks both those boxes, and he rebounds the ball better than most bigs. You know what I mean? Russie's his energy on the floor, the way that he moves, his relentless energy at that, because he's doing this all 4 quarters. Sometimes he'll have a triple double before halftime. It's really that serious. I think I kind of agree with Scott Brooks in that respect, because I used to think that, I'm a big CP fan. CP is another person that can change a team just by him being there. And Russie is starting to look like he has that type of ability. On Houston, it kind of wasn't a good fit because James Harden has the ball in his hands a lot. You know what I mean? And Russie's not an off-the-ball player. He needs the ball in his hands to be effective, like James Harden, like LeBron James. And it's good that he's in a position where he could take the helm of a team and show, like, this is what I do. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted that, and he got it, and he's turning the Wizards around and having an amazing season at that, doing it.
Yeah, and like I say, comparison to Chris Paul, that's a great point, because we didn't think, because when we went to Houston, we thought he was going to be the missing piece, and that, of course, just didn't happen. So a lot of people doubted him going to Washington, a team that's not really, that's never really good. They're very much on the downplay. Bradley Beal's, they're rotting away, basically. And Russell Westbrook going there just seemed like this is a nothing trade. Houston, Washington just wants to get out of John Wall's contract, and Russell Westbrook's gonna just go in there and run away just like Bradley. And and turns out that puts on this second half storm of triple doubles, and now they're right in the mix, and they might be primed to cause the Sixers some trouble.
Some legit trouble.
If they can get out of this play-in tournament.
I was on Twitter the other day, and I seen something from like a Wizards fan. I don't think it's true, but they said that in the one season that Russie has been with the Wizards, he's done more than John Wall's done his whole Wizards career. And I'm just like, that's kind of disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. It's true, is it not?
Yeah. It makes me wonder, like, it makes me think about the future. Like, it seems like Russie kind of got this whole triple-double thing down, right? Like, he can do this in his sleep. Like, how many triple-doubles will he end up with? Like, how many more seasons will he average a triple-double? And even if he gets old, right, and say, like, he can't score in the upper 20s anymore as often as he used to, shit, 11, 15, and 15 is still crazy.
That's still a triple-double. Yeah.
Still a triple-double. Like,
who cares if he's only averaging 12 points?
Who cares?
If he's still got his rebounds and still getting 15 assists or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of triple doubles, though, real quick before we wrap, do you think there's anyone else? Now Russell's had this charge to get to the Big O. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else now that can make a charge to Russell? Is it Luka? Is it somebody else? Or is this kind of now cemented and there is no like Big O here, Russell chasing him. There is now no one to chase Russell.
In a sense, I do agree that Russie is like in a prime position, but at the same time, you look at, like you said, Luka, you look at Joker, you look at potentially LaMelo Ball. These are guys that they've been doing it since they touched foot in the league. You know what I'm saying? Russie ain't started doing the whole triple double thing till a couple years in the league, and then it wasn't consistent until like, a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago, he was consistent with it. These guys are doing it from out the gate. I think Joker could smash that record. I think Luka could smash the record if they're healthy and depending on how long they play. And as well as LaMelo, I think those are the three players that I think can reach that record. And LeBron as well. LeBron can't be that far off.
Probably, but LeBron doesn't have as many games in front of him.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, who knows how many more seasons he's gonna play?
Yeah, the well for LeBron is gonna be a lot quicker to dry up than the rest of the league.
Yeah, but that's the three players that I think that can catch Russie eventually.
But that three very good options too. I mean, particularly Joker's case, he does it from the center position. So can you imagine a center being the all-time leader in triple doubles?
Yeah. When you think of Russie, like his athleticism helps him get those rebounds, helps him score the way that he does, helps him get to positions where he can make the defense react and then make the proper pass. When that starts to fade, because Father's time catches up with everyone.
Yeah.
I think his game is going to have to change a little bit. But with Joker, his game is not predicated off athleticism at all. He could do that forever.
Yeah.
Till his legs fall off. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I think Joker is probably like you said, prime position to get it. But Luka is close as well.
Luka, and considering like Luka's in more kind of a similar situation to the ones Russell Westbrook has been in, and where there's not a ton of overwhelming talent around him. There's certainly talent in Dallas, and then of course there's a lot of career left. They could add more people as they go, but it really is kind of the Luka show. Like it's been the Russie show in a lot of places that Russie's been. Certainly when he really turned this up in Oklahoma City, it was just him, and now in Washington where he's really just got Bradley. So Luka's in a very similar situation where you can kind of mentally forecast him being in similar statistical positions. But Absolutely. That being said, Luka has to shoot a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, man, shout out to Russell Westbrook, the new crowned king of the triple double. I love Russie since he got in the league. I've definitely, he's a player that I can say that I definitely watched his growth of him being like a uber athletic kid just getting in the league where he didn't have like the basketball IQ or the wherewithal to do the things that he's doing now to him growing into one of the best passers the league's ever seen, and just stat chief stuffer supreme. That's what he is.
Right.
Russell Westbrook.
To your point, that did worry. I'm someone that I've always been a Russie defender for a long time, and then as things were going on and they weren't really getting out of these lower doldrum states, and the detractors, what the detractors always said about Russie were starting to set in on me too. I'm like, oh my God, were these idiots right all the time? And maybe I've been too high on him. But now seeing him start to turn around a franchise that otherwise is kind of a dumpster fire most years is kind of intrinsically rewarding for me to see. Because I'm like, yeah, assholes, I was right. You weren't. I was right.
Right. Right. You can always be down on a player and you know what I mean, you'll be right. But you'll be right most of the time because the NBA is a tough league to be in, and people come in the league and change the game like a Steph, and then the way that you play could probably be obsolete now. You know what I mean? But Russie has shown that he can adapt, he's someone from the older league where it was more isolation based, and now he's in the new league that's more space and pace. And no, he's not the best shooter we ever seen, but he does everything else phenomenally.
And adapt in a
Westbrook.
sense where he's not necessarily changing his game. Like Rusty's not going out there and hitting 10 threes a game, but
No.
he's keeping his game enough to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Yeah. He's found his niche in the game, how the game is today, and it's working. And like I said, it seems like he could do this in his sleep. Like triple doubles before half is crazy.
Incredibly,
and he's doing this on a
so.
Yeah, and he's doing this on a regular occurrence. So that's Russell Westbrook love for the day. So now shameless plug time. I want to tease our socials. Please hit us up on Hoops Boys Pod on Instagram and Hoops Boys Pod on Twitter. Come kick it with us, share memes with us. Just have a good old time. For now, this is it for this show. Come kick it with us on the next one. It's your boy Jet and the host with the most and America's favorite bitch-ass white boy, CProc. And we will kick it with you to send off the season in the next episode. You won't want to miss it.
It's playoff time, boys and girls.
Yes, sir.